Bring it in, Late Reg with Brian Rast, Phil Laak, and our guest, the one and only Jay Carver, Jason Somerville. You might not know him as Jay Carver. That's from the olden days, the poker stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, I mean, you're not playing that much poker anymore, right?
No.
No.
Zero.
Oh, zero. Okay. It's
Truly
done.
zero. Main event appearance only.
Okay, yeah, but the main event is like
Special
fun,
times.
you know? You come back.
See Jeff Platt, do a little interview, you know? Yeah, that's about it.
Try to win $10 million on like an epic.
I don't even think I want to win. I just want to get like 200th. just so I feel like I'm still alive. Yeah.
Wait, don't you remember what it feels like to play for 5 days and get like 2.5x?
Honestly, 5 days
Cash?
is the worst part about it. You know, like
Yeah.
you're playing for 3 days, 4 days. It's just so hard.
Yeah, you're gonna play 5 days.
Playing
you
8
walk
days?
away with like 28,000.
I know.
And how will that make you? I mean, like back in the day, that was never the most. I mean, it's better than bubbling, but
Yeah, I mean it's tough, but whatever. Honestly, I really don't like the crowds at the World Series of the
Yeah.
poker.
It's sticky.
That hallway is so tough to get through.
Yeah.
I mean, I can spoil from the Rio where we had those beautiful back hallways for the cool kids, which you know I was a cool kid back then. So they get through those like narrow little choke points. It just gets my anxiety through the roof. So I don't know. I don't play that much anymore. My partner still plays all the time, which is great. So
I see Jordan from time to time.
Jordan shows up. I've been with him now for like 9 years, which is crazy. And he still plays. He plays online. He plays tourneys, plays PLO, whatever. So that's my only connection to actual poker play.
I remember,
So what are you
I
doing?
remember the story where, okay, this is 9 years ago, but he's dating Jordan, and Jordan has a job. And was it the boyfriend before Jordan or Jordan, where you said, no, that job thing, that's done. You, that was the greatest story.
I do have very high demands of attention, especially 10 years ago. But no, Jordan was always a poker pro. He started at Vanguard.
He was already.
You may have met him right after he quit Vanguard to play poker.
But a past relationship, it wasn't Jordan, but basically Jason was like, no, that work stuff, no, that's not going to work.
It didn't make sense.
yeah.
Like I need someone that's going to be as like a full
Available.
attention for me, basically,
Yeah.
especially in the Run It Up era where we were like just traveling house to house. So Vincent, who was my partner during the Run It Up era, you know, he was shipping T-shirts to people, right? Like he worked full time. He basically quit school to work, you know, for Run It Up, especially as it grew and did everything. So
What percent of your money that you got out of poker came from Run It Up, and what percent came from just grinding and winning and just check raising people?
yeah, I used to start playing online with Rast, or what was your name on there?
Yeah, that's Zarast.
Zarast, yes, that's right. Zarast, that makes sense, of course. Yeah, I'm thinking of some other weird name. But yeah, I used to play online, of course. I started out playing tournaments and, you know, won a bunch of money before I was 21 playing online. I started out playing free rolls, right? I won $5 in a free promotional thing when I was 16 years old, and I had 100,000 18 months later. Right?
I
So
love
that's how I
that.
started. That was 20 freaking years ago.
20
It's
years
also
ago. Wow.
a lot of money when you're 16.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me deposit. They're like, what are you doing with your life, of course?
Wait,
I
what do
wasn't
you
doing
mean
anything.
They wouldn't let you deposit? Put it in the bank, you
I
mean?
wanted their credit card to like deposit online, so I had to play free rolls instead.
Oh, they wouldn't give you a little boost to start? You had to start with
they're
free
like,
rolls?
what are you doing? No way. So I literally had to play free rolls, and that's how I grinded it up 20
found a
years
way.
ago. Yeah, I would grind those, and that's how it all started. So I started by playing just purely being an online player, and, you know, I won a bunch, lost a bunch. I won a bracelet in 2011. But, you know, in 2006, I felt like I was towards the top of the tournament grind. You know, I won the Full Tilt Sunday 3 times, the Ultimate Bet Sunday I won 5 times, something insane. I would wake up and, you know, Mom, I just won $20,000. She's like, go to bed. You know?
It's like 4 a.m. or something, right?
Oh,
It used
yeah,
to be
for
the,
sure.
the Sundays, and they were all
yeah.
they were pretty small buy-ins. I know because I had a bad run in cash, and I'd like took an excursion into the tournaments for like a couple
Nice.
months.
Yeah.
Had some success, and then just like went back to cash. But like it was pretty fun,
Yeah.
and like very soft back then.
Oh
and-
yeah, I mean
like-
I mean this shows my poker age, but like I would play the 109 rebuys on PokerStars, you know, the guys like Little Hold'em and Johnny Backs, and like, you know, those legends back then. So yeah, I was a grinder before I got into content. I got into content through the poker forum that I started out on, which had Steve O'Dwyer and Leo Walpert and Alex Vanovsky and Gobble Boy. There were like people that started there, called Poker in the Rear, of course. I made videos as a way to give back to them. I met Negranu at WSOP Europe. He was right next to me, and I was just like, hey, hi. hey, I'm Jason Somerville. I make videos. And he was like, okay. And I was like, there's no way I'm letting this opportunity pass me by.
Yep.
21, 22. He just started Poker VT at the time, which was like a training
that one,
site.
yeah.
I think were you involved with one of the VTs?
I did like something for them.
Yeah. So he had said, talk to this person, his guy Dustin, and that's how I started making videos on a more public scale. Was Poker VT. I was number 2 viewership to Daniel, and then from there I just started making YouTube videos because I wanted to have more fun. Why are these videos so boring?
You were like one of the first people who got into streaming or whatever it was, right?
Yes. So I started on YouTube.
Big on that.
Started on YouTube. Got an opportunity with Ultimate Poker here in Vegas, the first regulated poker site run by the Fertitas. And they wanted the name UP somewhere in my brand.
Yeah.
So that's how Run It Up was so perfect. Run It UP. I had the little U. Worked with Antonio. That's how me and Antonio became friends because I was happy to do all the work Antonio did not want to do.
In what regards? What was the...
Oh, I was doing all like the media stuff. Like whenever Antonio was required, I would like kind of be the facilitator, make sure everything was good, whatever the meet and greets were, So I was happy to be like the soldier.
Engineer. Yeah.
Exactly.
The social engineer behind the...
It's necessary. Listen, that was our prerequisite to doing this podcast.
You need an engineer.
We actually said...
I had been kind of wanting to do something like this for a couple years, actually, and I just had no idea, would have had to hire this or that.
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple things came by, and then it's like, well, I need a partner, and then that took a while. But then finally, everything's lined up, because I don't want to do anything other than
talk.
Set
I
up,
wanted to do something like this for about...
show up, like, I have to set up, or he has to set up with the guest,
Yeah.
but then just show up and talk, and someone else edits. And this and that.
It was really nice. We walked in, we were here for about 170 seconds before Mateos set us up here and got us going, which is amazing.
Yeah, we need the Mateos fella. Like we would be. I actually tried to do something like this solo for. I was like, wow, I can't even.
It's really hard.
I was just like the nut worst at doing stuff.
Wait, so you hold on. Let's get back. You were the soldier.
So Antonio,
a little bit with
I
that.
learned a lot from Negranu. He was a mentor. He staked me back in the day too for many years, so I learned a lot from him, following him around the earth. But Antonio also taught me a ton of things about personal interactions and engagements and how to sign things for fans in a personalized way. You can't win if you fold, whatever. Yep. So I learned a lot from both of those guys, and I started doing YouTube videos under the Run It Up brand, did a little bit of streaming. And when Twitch got acquired by Amazon in
Twitch.
2012 or whatever.
You were the biggest guy on Twitch for poker, right? At one point.
I started where Scott Ball, who was hired to basically do things besides games, right? Amazon's directive to Twitch was, let's expand beyond video games. So they were going to do live cooking, talking, whatever, and poker was one of those things. So Scott, who was a fan of mine, reached out to me and asked if I'd be willing to stream on Twitch. And I had a few times. When I signed my contract for Twitch, it literally said poker is a prohibited game. That was against the rules at the time. So they changed the rules.
How did you? Oh, so they changed the rules.
They changed the rules, and I started streaming and just took it super seriously. Ultimate Poker shut down. I had already done some streaming. I went to the Bahamas and pitched the crap out of PokerStars. They didn't quite see it in the beginning, but I just started doing it more and more. The viewership grew. Twitch put me on the front page to all these fans. And 5 years of that, basically streaming my little heart out.
And one time, didn't you do 365 days consecutive?
No, my records for streaming days are like, I did 74 or something, I'd forget at this point. It's like 70-something days in a row where I streamed 8 hours a day. Across all of those 70-something sessions, I took 4 breaks during the 8-hour block. Okay, I was a psycho. I never left the house those 47 days, except one time to meet my weed dealer on the street. So that was it. That was the only
Bill,
time.
what your Guinness record, man? It might be dead.
Beautiful.
I mean, I was. This may have led to my eventual burnout because I was really psychotic about it, where I didn't want to take a break. I didn't want to lose the audience. If you take a break, you lose half the audience every time. So I never wanted to take a break, and I always had a very tenacious bladder, so it worked out that I could just grind through it.
This is what's crazy. Mateos asked the question. I didn't even think of this. Mateos should be the guy asking questions. And now I really want to know. And his question was 2 words. Why leave? And especially after building a juggernaut. You're like a juggernaut.
I
built the
add into the why leave thing, because I had heard one time, because I was very oblivious to all this. And then it was like, oh yeah, like Somerville's the biggest Twitch streamer. And then I had heard, because Jeff had just been getting into that. And then maybe Jeff or someone was like, yeah, I think he's like making this. I'm like, wow, really? That's like kind of a lot. So like, why leave?
Yeah. I mean,
Burnout, I
at
guess.
this point, I don't say so many years later, it's almost a decade later. I mean, like I was making over $1 million a year off of Twitch, including PokerStars and everything combined. But I was living in a rented house in a rented country. I was in Canada, right?
Yeah.
I was living, it was just me and my partner at the time. And I kind of burned out on it. And, just the constant, it's like I was never a celebrity for sure. But we did have like 10,000 average viewers on any given day, right? Like we did a whole month once where we had 10,000 viewers every single stream, 30 days in a row. So a lot of people are asking, like, what are you doing? What's going on? You got a lot of messages, a lot of people, felt like there were a lot of demands in this parasocial world. But
what does parasocial mean?
It's like somebody thinks they know you because they're
they've absorbed your flow for months on
right. So a lot of people they think they know me or whatever.
That's a great term because it happens all the time. Like you watch somebody regularly and they talk and this and you feel like you kind of
feel like you know them, right? Think about how many celebrities or podcasters that you would meet Lex on the street, or even Joe Rogan. You might know his opinions. He has no idea who you are.
Or like the candidates tournaments happening right now. I'm watching a lot of like Levy chess streams.
Right.
And the way he talks, it's interesting. Anyway, okay.
But so and I'm not saying that was bad because it was mostly good, but it was also very loud is really how I would consider it. I never really had anybody try to like burn down my house or anything crazy like that. I mean, some random crazy shit, but nothing that wild.
Never swatted,
although I did have some
What was the craziest thing?
From like a security or safety point of view, like I did have people like threaten to like kill me and that kind of thing, but that happens a lot, to be honest, once you're at some level of.
Oh, maybe this podcast was a bad idea. We better not get too popular, guys. Do not subscribe. Enjoy. Just watch a little bit while you're.
Don't dislike it. In fact.
But you can always find some reason. People have their own issues or whatever. Yeah. But that wasn't really what did it. I just started feeling like I wasn't enjoying the stream, the like lock in 8 hours. I kind of missed like my family, my ability to kind of like flow to do things. But I didn't just like stone cold quit, right? Like I pretty much came back to Vegas. I built a studio. We had at one point 30 employees or, contractors included that were doing live streams for PokerStars, for the Aussie Millions, right? I hosted Aussie Millions for like 5 years.
That was great, by the way. You did it without going there.
I did it once, and I went there, and we did 12 hours, 14 hours a day, and I solo casted that whole thing, which was amazing, and I can't believe I did that in retrospect.
Oh, so 4 years you were there, and 1 year you weren't there.
I think I went either 1 or 2 years, and I did it 2 years remote from Canada. But in any case, I did that for a bunch, and the studio was like supporting all the PokerStars streamers, and it was basically just like a full business. Like I literally put on pants, like I am now, for special occasions only, but I had to do it all the time. We had an office and a real business, and PokerStars was like our partner and everything, right? Not only a partner, they were an investor in the studio, which I can say now after how many years.
What was it? The uniform? I don't know what it was called. The Black Fridays, the shortened the UIEGEA, whatever. When that happened,
that was many years prior.
Yeah.
What really changed for us was when PokerStars got acquired by Flutter. So when that happened in 2020, right around the same time as COVID, we kind of had the double whammy of all of our biggest allies at PokerStars, except for a couple, basically either quit or got fired. At the start of, I think it was 2020, the person in charge basically told me that Negreanu, Moneymaker, and the run-up team, including me, were safe. And by the end of the year, all three of us had been cut. So that was that big transition year where our biggest partner and our investor all of a sudden was pretty much telling us to do your best on your own. But also it was COVID. So we had Run It Up Reno, which was an established stop. I think we did 9 Run It Up Reno events, which were awesome and a ton of fun, and I met a lot of great people there. But all of a sudden, COVID, you can't do live events, and our expenses were pretty high. We have 15 people on the payroll plus 15 more contractors. That's a lot of expense. So pretty much shut everything down during COVID, and that's where I really took a deeper turn into sports gambling. And I never, just to wrap this, I never thought I was done and okay, I'm over content or streaming. It was more just I kind of floated to the next thing and kept the door open, but haven't ever walked back through it except for special occasions like this.
Was it weird leaving it behind, knowing that you had built up substantial poker skill and business skill and all this other stuff, and now you drift into sports betting? You're not using poker.
Everything flows into the next thing, right? Like I feel like everything I've done in my life has built off of the thing prior to it or whatever. I used to be a karate teacher. If I hadn't done that, I probably couldn't have been a streamer, right? Where like you learn the thing about engaging with the kids and how to disguise repetition. As a streamer, all you do is repeat yourself. I repeat myself every single day when I was a streamer about what a big blind is and what an ante is, whatever.
Right, yeah.
So, disguising repetition and building rapport. I learned that when I was like 12 teaching karate to 5-year-olds. So I feel like I've always built on that last thing. And in sports, there's still plenty of things relating to poker, all the math, gambling, prices, whatever. If anything, the thing I miss the most is the people and the community, because we did have a lot of passionate run-it-up fans, people who met each other and got to hang out with me as the conduit. And I kind of do feel like that sort of ended abruptly because of COVID mostly, because we did try to do Run-It-Up Reno in 2020.
COVID marked quite a transition for a lot of people, I think.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, that's cool. You just kind of flowed into the next thing, and it started working out, and it got more of your energy. And also sounds like you were sort of already in a mode too, where the old thing was feeling more like work and more of a burden, and like kind of impinging on your freedom. Whereas the new thing let you feel more energized, and that's like I'm more free doing this kind of with my time and whatever. And you were addicted, right? That's very natural for all of us who kind of got into poker. That like freedom thing is a big part of it. And it's
you went freedom poker to Twitch to businessman. So now it's less freedom. And then when you pivot to sports betting, you're like, wow, this is max freedom.
Right.
Like,
it's back to being a cash game player, basically, which, I was briefly in the early 2000s.
You didn't have to go anywhere for sports betting, whereas cash player, you'd have to go to the casino. Or
one thing I liked a lot about sports betting was that I was able to basically completely ignore everybody else. So it's like you against the screen, right? It's like, is this a good bet or not? Decide right now. Or wait. It's like, so I really enjoyed that sports betting was like a puzzle, and every game had its own way of trying to find where there's value. And a lot of sports betting is really, it's really a networking game in disguise. Right? I can't tell you anything about how to handicap baseball, but I have a guy who has worked with me for 10 years now who is a genius, and, we built a rapport that has lasted us all these years from betting, like $100 a game or whatever we started at to where we are now. So, plenty of things that are good at poker, getting into good games,
Right,
like,
the social end of it, the connecting, finding the flow.
Exactly.
Describe a little more getting into sports. Like, I'd imagine there was one particular sport probably or something that you started with and, and then it branched, or I don't know. Talk a little bit about that
I was
journey,
always
'cause
into
I'm curious about
UFC. Even when I was a streamer, I'd watch UFC live with fans and stuff. And I got to work with the UFC at Ultimate Poker and with PokerStars. Meet Dana White and those guys, which was always pretty cool. But so that was easy. My first modeler ever was a UFC guy, and back in the day, it was so easy to crush. There's like no information, no statistics, so a very weak model would have had a 10% ROI when I started.
In UFC fights, or
easily 10% ROI through purely just being able to quantify grappling advantage, wrestling advantage. Yep. The one that can, back in like the Matt Hughes era, the one who was the better wrestler won very often. It was like an undervalued thing. Huh. So as time went on, it got more and more sophisticated. There's more and more data. The edge got smaller, but I also felt more confident as the sample builds up. Of course, in poker, you get it in jacks versus ace king offsuit, and you're like, oh, we're flipping. Meanwhile, in sports betting, I would kill someone for a 55% advantage in a single bet. So the sample size you really do realize is significant. So you can go a whole year of betting UFC and lose, but actually you probably should have won, right? It's like based on the sample size being so small.
Did you use like in poker, if you're playing, you got your stack, and now we're flipping. Now you just get the result. Whereas in sports, you can analyze, look at it, get more and more confidence, and be like, oh, this is a for sure 5%. Maybe I put more on the table.
Sure.
Do you use Kelly Criterion to determine what percent of your net worth you're going to wager in different spots?
Great question. I feel like yes, generally, but at this point, I'm like guessing. Like I have a feel for what it should be. Right? There are times in sports betting where it's very obvious that you have an advantage. Right? Like imagine you're betting on the Super Bowl coin flip. And I say, I'm going to offer you plus 105 in American odds. So I'm going to offer you $1 and a nickel, right? $1, $105 to win $100. Yep. You should be betting quite a lot on that. You know for sure you have an advantage, and you know for sure it's 50-50. I mean, barring something weird. So how much should you bet? Well, that's where Kelly
thinks, or John Kelly. For those of you who don't know, John Kelly was a smart fellow that worked at Bell Labs way back in the day, and he was asked by his bosses, hey, figure out the math behind moving electrons down these wires and this information packeting stuff more efficiently. And he came out with Kelly's Criterion, which happens to be optimal bet sizing for poker as well. Total crazy coinkydinky there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's basically just, oh, you have 5% edge, bet 5% of your net worth. Roughly, that's, I think, what Kelly, the takeaway is.
Yeah, I mean, we're usually firing at like a percentage of Kelly, quarter Kelly, or whatever. Yeah. But like, to be honest, I haven't thought about that in so long. I typically just find a size that I'm comfortable with for a unit and try to stick to that unit for
also the season. Your betting site won't allow you to bet as much as you want sometimes, right?
Right. Like, I mean, that's another big thing about sports betting. You can tell me you have great information on women's lacrosse, and I say, good for you, right? Like, you really can't do anything with that, right? It takes someone... You have to have a way to bet that information. So a lot of guys who are getting started trying to bet small units, man, I can tell you, go bet pitcher props, go bet NBA props, right? Those markets where there are $100, $200 maxes, are soft because no big whales are in there.
There's no liquidity. There's not a huge...
Exactly. There's no liquidity.
Do you make your bets with other bookmakers or Kalshi or Polymarket, or where do you...
Something we can talk about is the advent of prediction markets and how that's changed things. But like forever, it had been MGM, Caesars, Circa, and betting on some of the offshore sites, which of course is legal for us to do as players, but illegal to operate. So, you bet on all these places, but it really comes down to, where's the best price? How much can you bet? How much are you trying to bet? And that's a networking game, right? It's if I tell you, hey, I have a person who's actually able to bet 5Ks at women's lacrosse, wow, you might have a 50% edge doing that. Yeah. And that's kind of a joke of a sport, but that's true for tennis sometimes, small tennis matches. And if you have the right guy who has the right accounts, you can make big bets, on small markets. And then all of a sudden the edge is massive until the book cuts you off.
I actually bet quite a bit of UFC. It's like a hobby of mine. I don't consider myself to be very good. But yeah, I think one of the things, if you have accounts in enough places and you look at the market, you can usually find between that, or I do vig free with people sometimes. Yeah. You can get lines. I mean, one thing just to touch on, I want to go somewhere else with this, but the advent of these sites is Polymarket on like the week of the fight. Oftentimes it's like the best line, right? Because on a lot of sports sites, they're doing at least 5 cents each way.
Definitely.
Whereas Poly, it's so tight that sometimes you can actually get the best line both ways on Poly versus the market.
Definitely.
Especially when, as the fight converges, like the other sites converge a lot, so then Poly will just like beat them.
Right.
But the thing, so I kind of have a question. Like something I found is that like my opinion's like okay, but like I've found personally that, and like this burned me for my biggest UFC loss, was one time I started getting down quite a bit early. Like I did vig free with somebody like over a month before a big championship fight. And then the line kept moving against me. The specific fight was I liked DDP versus Kamzat, where I was not right. But what happened is the line just like kept moving, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep averaging. And so like by the time the fight got, I kept averaging up and up and up.
Like
and then
plus 240 or something.
But it was under 200. So I kind of just kept betting more, and then got whacked, and it like wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And so like I guess my question is, how often do you get down early, or do you wait, early oftentimes and then the lines move? How much do you count like what the market's telling you versus like your opinion in those spots? Like I'm just kind of curious. Like I know I should listen to the market, but like how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Somebody doing it professionally.
So if you look at baseball and you think that the Yankees should be 50-50 and the market is telling you otherwise, especially at close, right? The market opens for baseball the day before. It opens at like 5 p.m. day before the game. The limits are small, right? The market goes through this thing called price discovery, where everybody puts in their 2 cents. The line moves a little bit. Limits go up. More people come into the market. The line moves again. Information comes out. This guy is out. The whole market moves. Things keep shifting and determining and whatever. There's a scale of like how much you can bet as time goes on until the second before the game, the last possible second before the game goes off. That is when the price should be the most accurate, because everyone has had their time to put 2 cents in, their 2 cents in, and that final pinnacle closing line is very likely to be as good of a guess as anyone on earth has as to what the true odds should be. So for baseball in that situation, I would say Pinnacle closing line is probably right. If you tell me I think that line is wrong, I say, well, good luck. But in UFC, it's not quite the same, right? The market, I don't think, is nearly as efficient, even still. Now, it is somewhat efficient. People could argue this and that, whatever. If you buy a fighter plus 300 and it closes at plus 200, right? That's a massive swing in the price. Odds are your bet at plus 300 was pretty good, right? If that guy could go in and get knocked out in 5 seconds, was it a good bet? Yeah, probably still. But in any case, I think the market efficiency of UFC is less so than other sports. Purely because the data is lower.
Let me chime in on that real fast. Yeah, I would say having, I bet and watch a lot of the cards. I do a lot of live betting, actually. But there are a lot of times where the line is clearly wrong, and it's not because of a fluke knockout. It's there are times you'll watch a fight and you're like, wow, that was pretty mispriced. This guy could probably replicate that at a pretty high frequency, and the line did not reflect that going in. Anyway,
and live betting also, you see all the time where the price will say something and you're like, what? Isn't it 1-to-1? And somehow it's minus 300 on one person's side.
This is why I like live betting more. Even though I can't get down very much, I actually do feel that I can find an edge sometimes live betting, even though I'm betting a lot less than I'd like to.
Yeah.
But it's just thinking about what it might be on the judges' scorecards, or even interpreting, what I think about how the fighters are doing in the first round, and sometimes I can find good. But anyway, please continue.
I forget the fight that was recent. Was it last week or something? If you saw the main event last week, I don't even remember who it was off the top of my head. But it was everyone was like, "Oh, it's 4-1, definitely going to lose." I think it was it Evolev, whatever. I do watch less now, so I don't know as many of the players as I used to do. But yeah, right. And everyone was like, "Oh, he's dead. It's a massive. It's he's whatever he was, a dog on the live line going into the 5th round, and he was actually up on all the scorecards. So all he had to do was not get finished, or it was something like that. I forget exactly.
that type of thing happens every card, where the live line will be pretty off based on what the scorecards later come out to be.
Yeah.
And so I actually think that's the way you find the biggest edge. Live betting is just if you're pretty good at guessing, maybe where the judges will differ from what whoever's setting the live lines is. Sometimes you can find bets that are way off.
For sure, and it's one of the few things that you really basically have to eyeball. You could use stats and statistics to kind of make your live predictions, but I'm very sure you could find someone who's just good at looking at fights and can say this is the price, that's what it's saying, and that's not right, and you could win, right? So if anyone who's out there is trying to win at sports betting, it's first of all very hard, right? We know in poker, maybe 5 out of 100 people are winners, maybe a little bit more. In sports betting, it's probably less than 1 in 100. So the only way to do it is by getting great prices, having some edge, some information that others don't have, or being a bigger fish in a small pond. And live betting, despite being fairly big, is still a small pond, in my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of pond sizes, slightly curious, I kind of see it as 3 chunks, 3 phases: regular gambling, then business side, bring people into poker kind of stuff. So poker, then poker business stuff, then sports. For every 5-year chunk, if you measured in 5-year chunks, are you doing better or worse financially? I know you're happier with the sports stuff.
Yeah.
But is it you had to take a salary cut from the empire where you were too big to fail? I mean, TB, that stands for too big, right? Or does it stand for the best?
Tampa
or top bunker. I thought maybe top bunker. Or is it
maybe Tom Brady? No.
Is it a sports team I'm supposed to know?
Tampa Bay, right.
Oh, so everyone knew Tampa Bay except me.
Most people don't know.
I don't know sports.
It's a baseball team that does a lot of analytics, and they do a lot of smart things.
I like it's 3D.
So they make a small budget compete with a bigger team. So I've always liked the Rays since I got into baseball.
I like that.
Despite being from New York.
If you're an elite thinker like yourself, where did you make the heaps? Is it all just a third heap, a third heap, a third heap? Money's an illusion, Phil. Why are we talking about money?
I envy people who have been able to have pretty much a straight line up and never went down. I have had 0 to $1 million back to near zero 3 or 4 times.
Really? Oh my God, I'm not. Wow, I didn't know that.
The first time that I had $1 million was after I won my bracelet and Negreanu was staking me. And I remember going to Daniel and being like, hey man, I have $1 million now. You don't have to stake me anymore. I'm good. And he was like, all right, I understand. And he's like, wait, is this your first time having $1 million? And I said,
Did he
yes.
say that?
And he goes, ha, you'll lose it for sure. And he was right. I did, even though I thought I wouldn't, but I did lose it all. I was like 22, 23, whatever. And then between, taxes and other staking people, whatever, I did lose it all.
Wow.
And so like, as time has gone on, I've never let that really discourage me.
Right, you just rebuilt.
I just rebuilt.
The next
So
million.
I truly do think that it happened to me like 4 times in my life. So
Wait,
it's just like,
4 times you went 0 to $1 million.
I think so. This
Back
is
to
my 5th time on the upswing.
This is insane. I had no idea.
Yeah.
A fellow DJ, did you have any? I thought you were like careful. And
here's the other thing. Like in the Run It Up studio era, right?
Yep.
I paid all my people very well. Everybody got paid. The top people all got paid very well. I don't want to say the amount, but everybody was taken care of for sure. Every person would tell you that. I didn't take any money out of the Run It Up studio. I put money into the Run It Up studio, right? So when the studio ultimately closed, I ended up with 100,000 pajama pants and some equipment, but no money.
100,000 pajama pants.
So I did not manage that well from my own like wealth point of view. So I did not go into the sports betting era with a bunch of money.
Wow.
And in 2023, that was the only year I've ever had in my whole gambling career where I lost significantly. Like I basically lost $1 million in 2023, right? So like I had never had even like a minus 100K a year in gambling. And then 2023, I had 2 baseball handicappers and a college football handicapper, and all 3 lost brutally. So it was just like crazy that they all just lost. So
wait,
that was
you said you hadn't had a 100K downtick?
Downtick within a year.
Within a year.
I'm saying like having a gambling year loss.
Gambling year loss, and now you okay.
Tax rules are not very friendly for that.
Right. It is.
Carry it for
It
us.
is not.
You lose $1 million, so you're back to
so
Flint.
in 2023, I basically lost, the vast majority of my, like all my liquid. I gambled too big. I always have my whole life, and I'm kind of okay
I would
with that.
not have pegged Jay. Would you ever have? I would think he's a careful guy, like not taking shots and stuff, but you took shots.
No, I mean, I played 100Ks with like half of myself when I had like 300K.
Oh my God, I was that guy 20 years ago. I'm not that guy anymore.
Right. I'm not that guy anymore either. But like, I played 600Ks and I had way too much of myself in the first like 5 of them.
How old are you now?
I'm 39 almost.
Okay.
I'll be 39 in a week.
I mean, I think that I think it's okay to take some risk to build up money. I mean, everything depends on like your life situation too, and like how much money you need for whatever your personal life, like kids, this, that, things that like you really need to like save for. But also for the most part, it's like people need to, if you want to try to make, like, if you're a person who's like, I'm going to just make this, like, let's say it's like 200,000 a year or something. That's like very achievable if you're a good gambler. And you're like, that's good because I'm going to live super simply. That's never going to change. Like my whole family will, even if I get married and have kids, and like my style is never going to go up. I'm always going to fly coach. We're like this, that. Then great, more power to you. But like the other thing is that, right, like if you kind of want to scale up and make more money, you sort of need to like take risk. It's like very hard to do it without
For sure.
taking risk, betting more, like getting in bigger spots where you may or may not lose and have to drop back. I mean, I don't know. I've been a person in my career too who I think ultimately, like when I listen to other people, I straddled the line very well of my risk taking, but then also like not being a nit.
Yeah.
Like my first time I got over $1 million, I also ended up being my biggest percent drawdown.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't all my loss. It was like I bought the place in Panorama, had to put down a couple $100,000 for that.
Yeah.
I took some pieces of people that lost. I also did lose some money that months playing poker. That was like the peak of me going out with Antonio. So I was also like,
You're paying the Antonio tax.
I was also like getting wasted 3 times a week. Not
I remember I had 10% of him on some full tilt stuff that he was doing, and every time I saw him, I'd get 10 or 15K. And then one day he was like, "Bill, I lost $1.5 million this month, and I had to give him 150K. I was coming to the World Series my first week, and I was like, wait, what? I was already spent and registered. That money is gone. Now I was like, and I was then playing the Colossus and stuff.
And then you live and learn with things in life. Also for me, one thing that made a pretty big difference randomly was kind of like when I met my wife, and now it's like, she had already had a kid, and now I needed to be responsible. Right. That also changed my mindset a lot. Yeah. And stuff where it's like, oh, I'm getting wasted. All of a sudden that like stopped happening, and this and that also mattered. But I mean, I lost my so to speak, lost my first. I didn't go broke, but I lost my first million.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I went to true zero. I had two nickels.
And then it was like
right
down to like half.
Right. I mean, I remember having
over 75% drawdowns, pretty significant.
I mean, I probably had a 95% drawdown my first time. I probably went $1 million to like 50K and then grinded it back and then, lost it again. But like you say, I was never content with like, let's make 100K a year. I was always like, let's build a $10 million business. Let's make this into a massive thing. Like, I just can't do things a little bit, right? So that's why I've been streaming and running it up. I was obsessed. I was never taking breaks. We were building something that was going to be massive, right? Like, and to be honest, that mentality, once I was kind of like over it, that falls apart very quickly. Right? When it relies on me being absolutely driven king of the hill, once I'm like, I don't want to be king anymore, it's hard to be the third biggest streamer. Right, I thought about that these days. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to come back and have 800 viewers and play $100 tourneys on WSOP. Like, maybe that would be fun in short bursts. But like, what I haven't innovated. I'm not bringing something new to the table. I'm not climbing back up the hill. Poker streaming is in an okay place, but it's not tripled since I left. It's probably halved or lower in terms of viewership. Not to say there's not plenty of great creators out there. I just want to make that clear. But for me personally, doing it part-time never really made sense. It was either...
But if you did it part-time, you'd be able to give all the viewers a pair of pajama pants.
That's true. I do think I still have a storage unit of all the old run-it-up gear, just like well-preserved, waiting for me to eventually do something in gambling.
I think an underappreciated part of your story that is pretty much like universally true, and it's not even just like streaming or whatever, but just it's mindset, right? Like you had this mindset that then followed with your discipline of just like pretty crazy stories about the time you were putting in and your dedication and work ethic and all that. And I think like on some level, no one kind of makes it to the top in a field without having a mindset like that. Like I can say from personal experience, I didn't really get into poker with kind of my mindset being, I'm going to like make a ton of money. It was like my goals were very modest at first, like more like, I'm dropping out of school because I can make $200,000 a year maybe or something. But then at some point, as you start moving up, it wasn't even like, obviously you want to make money, but it was also just like, wow, like I'm playing against really good players. Like, what if I'm better than them? Like I want to try to, be the best. And then that kind of becomes like the driving factor. And I know, in the previous decade, like that was something that really drove me. It's like, I'm getting to play the biggest tournaments against the best, like Bobby's Room against the best mixed game players in this. And it was fun, right? Like whatever you're doing. And that was why what really stuck out to me in your story, it's like once the streaming stopped being fun, it's like kind of already the end. It's just like the process of doing it has to be good. And like for me, the thing that really kind of marked like, wow, I kind of want to be the best player in the world to like, I love playing poker and I'm never going to quit it, but like I don't care that much anymore is because the process changed. Like once solvers came out and the process became a lot more study oriented, I was just a little like, that was just not as fun to me. And I can appreciate solve. It's great. Like, but it's just not the same as kind of just figuring it all out on your own, like using real simple odds calculators, talking through hands with friends. And it's just like all kind of happening and then going out and executing. And now the process is different. And so, I think, I don't know. That was my big takeaway from it. It's the mindset that you had that let you do it.
It really, I do agree completely that it really is tenacity that divides the people who make it and those who don't.
I do want to interject one, is the word edification? Or I want to clarify. It seems like it's gone solver central, and that's because you're in casinos, myself included in casinos. It's becoming solver central, but that's kind of because around, I'm just going to go 10 to 15 years ago, hosts of their own poker game at their apartment or their house that they'd rented out, where they went, wow, imagine how much money we could make if we got the rake. And then they would go and get special players, whatever. And over a period of 5 years, I remember going to the casino going, wow, there's like, it's getting blood out of rocks now, which is fine for me because I just love this. make it the puzzle harder. Okay, great. But I figured it out. Oh, if you don't want to be a host and run your own game, you're going to have to enter Solverland, because that. Yeah. But there are many home games where no one's studying the solvers.
You don't need to study a solver to beat a soft home game.
Right, correct.
I'm just saying, if you're like, I want to be the best player in the world,
then you have to
go to like Triton and play like Chidwick and these guys and Kuhn and whatever. Yeah. It's like, if you're not either studying a solver yourself or like working with a team that kind of does it and is passing things on or whatever,
you're going to get crushed in real poker.
Because, right, like it's one thing to develop a set of skills to like max exploit people that are making huge errors, and it's another thing to learn how to kind of be able to have bluffs in all situations and have a range that's like well defended and kind of balanced and the way that like basically a solver does, and not, I'm
very glad I don't have to rely on poker as an income anymore, where I kind of felt like I was relying on it because I left engineering, left finance, and I was like, well, I guess I better figure this poker thing out. Yeah. And I witnessed it as my net worth increased. It got tougher, and I didn't want to. I played some home games, but I wasn't a home game guy. I was like, oh wow, it's like a whole different landscape now. If you play poker, you better do it because you just love the damn thing. And then you'll get better because you love it, but not, oh, I'm here to pick up a check. Let me go flip. No, that's not what it is anymore.
Yeah.
Do either of you guys like pay attention to chess at all? Because there's actually I think chess is not the worst analogy in some ways, right? Like if you go back far in chess history, right, like there weren't computers. But chess, because of the nature of the game, not to say it's simpler, because it's not necessarily for a human playing it, but it's simpler for a computer to play it than poker, which is why like Deep Blue, IBM's Deep Blue happened and beat Kasparov a long, long time ago and this. But it's like also like the evolution of like chess strategy. And pretty soon it became like getting to be really good at chess. Like you had to like memorize all these opening lines just to make sure that just getting out of the opening, you didn't make a blunder, right? Because it's like these things could get studied, right? And then so all of a sudden, now like the candidates are playing and I'm like watching Hikaru. I'm not even that good at chess, but for some reason I just find I love games and I find it really interesting to, like, you can listen to the best in the world, like discuss what they're doing. And I just find that to be real interesting. And like, so Hikaru is going on and he's talking about this game he played yesterday with Blue Baum in the candidates. And he's like, they're like fucking 20 moves into the game. And he's talking about how I know Blue Baum is still on his opening preparation because he like made this move fast. But then that also tells me that I'm making the best move because it's still in open preparation. And I'm just like, it's like, can you even imagine? It's like they're playing and these guys have like kind of like worked out the best way to play like 20 moves into the game. And they're just sort of going on memory and study. And it's just poker is different, but I'm just saying it's like things are heading that, like, think about what's happening. It's like now all of a sudden you can look up RFI ranges from like all these spots and what you're supposed to 3-bet in this, and it's just you can learn more and more like kind of how you're supposed to play, and then you're like taking them down the tree a little bit to like, oh, we're like all of a sudden this guy's super unbalanced here and you fuck him up. Yeah. But it's like that wasn't that all like that even whole way of analyzing poker just like wasn't even available 15 years ago. Yeah. You had rough theories. You had like these books that said a bunch of nonsense.
I love 15 years ago, not even close.
I want to just throw in a little shout out to Carrot Corner, Peter Clark. This guy, he went in the cave hard and just did solver stuff for 3 years in the cave, and he came out and he was like, oh, it's all about exploit. Know the fundamentals, but run exploit scripts like you can't get enough of them. And every time he breaks down hands, he's like, yes, the solver would say blah, blah, but population dictates otherwise. This is how you have to think. And almost, that's cool. I'd say 70% of his hands, he's thinking, how can you exploit? Knowing that they know that, you know. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. Like, I feel like I've always been
where
more.
The money's made. Yeah. Is exploit.
I don't know all the solver stuff.
The thing is, like, once the better you know the theory of like how the hand's supposed to get played, the better you can actually exploit, especially when other people are trying to emulate how the hand's supposed to be played, but like no one can really do that.
Right, right. It's like when people see a bet size they've never seen before in a spot live, or like, someone who's, that's how you can change things, right? It's like, I haven't played poker seriously in a couple of years, but one thing I loved a lot 2 years ago when I was trying to learn some again was just leading out of the big blind. People are just don't usually practice that. Like, what happens?
Gus loves that. Gus Hansen loves to lead. They call it the donk bet, whatever. He loves it. He's like, yes.
It's super interesting when, cutoff opens, big blind calls, it comes 8-6-5, and big blind not in theory, but in practice, 100% checks. Yeah. Well, what if they bet a third of the time? And then all of a sudden the cutoff as a normal, even like a reg, might have, I'm talking about like 1Ks or 2Ks.
Yep.
They have no idea. They call, the turn is a 10, you bet a little bit more than the pot or whatever, and all of a sudden you've taken them to a place they've never been before.
Yep.
And if you play like that all the time, you're pretty comfortable with like what they should be doing, how they should be reacting. So that kind of stuff I still find a lot of joy in when I play poker on the rare occasion.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, 865 might even be theoretically, if theoretically you're supposed to 100% check, it's got to be pretty close. I know like very low coordinated boards start favoring the big blind at some point.
Right.
Because it's like you're the only one who can have a straight and you have way more two pairs. And so you start to get to lead some. I don't know about 865 specifically.
Yeah. I've wondered
definitely,
a
for example, like 653.
Right.
Like 100% the big blind we get to lead. 865, not sure.
I've wondered a little bit, because the way my life has taken, I felt like in 2006, 2010, I felt like I was one of like the best tournament players in a completely different era. And then I didn't really try to be the best in 2015 because I was trying to be the best streamer. Yep. And then in 2020, I was already long gone. And now here we are in 2026. And, the rearview mirror, you can't even see anything from as far as my poker.
Do you remember what year it was where you came over to me? I'd never met you. I don't think I'd met you, or maybe briefly chatted with you and he said, hey, Phil, I have an opportunity for you. We'll make a bet, whoever gets more points or whatever in this World Series. And I'm like, there's no way. I knew you were an internet genius. So I was like, no shot. And you're like, well, I'm not going to play this event. And it was like a 50K or something. I said, and you can play that. And I saw the points and whatever. And I was like, all I got to do is cash in this beast. And I pretty much win this bet. So I was like, I was on the fence to play in that. We bet 10K. I said, okay, we got to bet. And then I played that 50K and I didn't cash in that one, but I did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I beat you narrowly because you were doing a bunch of stuff too. I was like, how is he winning all this?
Yeah.
And then he didn't just pay me the 10K. He put it in a little gift box with a bow on it and stuff. And he says, and he presented it like a little like a high society.
You said it was the best 10,000 you ever received.
Yeah.
And that's how we became friends. Really, it's funny. It's funny how that works out.
That was 100 years ago.
It was so long ago.
Shoot.
But yeah, I wonder. Like, of course, I asked myself, like, how would I do if I tried my hardest to compete in poker today? Right, like, because many people of my era. Who were crushers in 2005, 2010, could not win today and have tried and failed. So I wonder sometimes, and I think about spots like that we're talking about with the 865 board, and I'm like, even if you do lose tiny, everybody else not playing Foxen, of course, everybody else in the pool that you would play for $1,500s or $200 online, whatever, those guys don't know how to react to that. Even if you lose tiny, theoretically, by leading in those spots, maybe you gain something because the reaction is not correct. They misreact in some way. They overfold.
Yep. Gambit theory.
It could be as simple as that. They just overfold the leads, and it's like, okay, wow, you win. Or they call them and you maybe have some other situations. But that gets me thinking about it. It gets like a part of my brain like
we need you back, kid. I'm coming up for this summer to play a bunch.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. You're going to play some.
I think you would probably do better than you think, but it would have to be something where you were motivated on the levels of like the passion you probably put into streaming or then later put into sports, and that's a big ask, right?
Yeah,
but I think like I don't know. I've thought about this myself too. Same idea. Like I don't really play like the Triton stuff, but it's like, what would it take if I was like, I want to work really hard on my no limit game?
How could you do
for me to like come back and like play the biggest tournaments? And I feel pretty confident that like, I'm 40. I'm a little older than you. I'm 44.
Yeah.
But I think like I could do like I've still compete in high stakes tournaments at WSOP in different places, and like I think I could do it. It would just take some work. Like I'd have to care and really put the time in. And I think like if your motivation was like I want to come back and beat, I don't know what to call it, but like let's say like 1K to 10K type range stuff, like whether it's like Poker Go or WSOP or places where you get like theoretically quite sound and then like use that with your like old school exploit instincts. Like, you could probably do very well in that stuff again. You just have to maybe like really go in the tank for like some period of like a year where you're studying a bunch and playing a bunch and like working on your game. But like you would,
it wasn't that long ago.
Sure.
Like last, we're in March or April recording this. It was like last October that I was paying Jeremy Osmus for coaching. Right, so like I was still like on the fringes enough where I was like curious. I go through bursts where I'll play mostly on WSOP, play on the iPad while I'm doing other things to like one tabling or whatever. So I was like curious enough to have learned then. But despite those little bursts to me come with content together, right? It's like, would I come back and do
just the
YouTube, a poker thing? No, I never would, I don't think. But would I come back and make it like a challenge where it's like, I'm curious how I'm going to do, and we're going to take this journey together, I'll learn things, share it with you, make it into like a community type journey. That to me has more appeal and seems much more reasonable, because I'm not trying to be Alex Foxen. I would be very content to be, like just competitive in these situations and have fun and be on stream. And to be honest, any content that I would get into in this day and age would be a mix of things. It couldn't just be poker, because my day is zero poker. We'd have to talk about sports. We'd have to talk about, other things.
You could do that as like a part-time job. And I think the thing you said, I've actually, I mean, the comparison isn't completely fair. I still play poker on I play mix on a very high, like I just played a Bobby's Room game for.
You're playing on Phenom.
Yeah, I play on Phenom.
Oh,
and
like
I played.
There you go. Give him the plug.
2K, 4K mix from like 3 to 1 weeks ago and stuff. So
yeah,
but it's just like, if that was the thing I've done recently that I think is really useful, like maybe people watching would think about, is like the coach thing. Like for 2 of the games where. Right, like what are the 2 games? Number 1 would be No Limit Hold'em. Number 2 would be PLO, where there's like a lot of solver information out and like people that know a lot about all of it. Like I've gotten a coach in both of them who it's like I'll be pay him some amount to like go on for an hour or whatever, and I think that can really help be an efficient use of your time. Like that's not necessarily like the person who I work with is like Nicky P. Right, which is maybe not accessible for everybody. He's like a pretty high player, but it's like whatever.
You find some pretty good players
too,
for
right?
$200 an hour or $100 an hour, or even less. I'm sure.
Yes,
you can find pretty good coaches.
Yeah. So it's one of these things where it's super time efficient.
Yeah.
And I think you could do that as like a side quest. Yeah. If your thing is like, I'm not trying to play it like the top, but just be competitive and like pretty decent buy-in stuff. Like, you could do that as like a part-time thing.
Can I say one thing that I have learned is we are in an industry where to get Jason Kuhn to coach you is going to cost you $4,000 an hour.
Yeah.
And it still might be worth it if you're playing high stakes enough. If you transition into other businesses and other industries, people charge a ridiculously low amount for coaching for their time, whether it's like AI coaching, coding, mentorship, sleep coaches.
Like gambling gets the higher prices because everyone knows what's at the end of it.
I think my point is that I think it's very undervalued to pay for coaching. It's like I've done a lot of like one-off calls with people who charge a couple $100 or whatever. All you have to do is get one takeaway that's worth $1,000 and you 5x your ROI.
Yep.
The people will give away shortcuts, lessons they've learned, things they've picked up. I think it's super useful. And then you have a contact that you can always reach out to in the future about ideas, questions, issues. Hey, this thing happened. So I think that's something that...
I listen to poker strategists, guys, like Jonathan Little. One day he was talking, he was like, oh yeah, you got to overbet these spots more than you think. And it came up that week. And I was like, wait, I know I have the best hand. I really wanted to get paid so bad. I was like, let me just bet a third. And I was like, I'm doing the little move. And I just went like 1.5. And then he tanked forever. And called, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I'm still a mule learning old tricks.
I mean, you don't have to necessarily even pay for coaching, of course. You can just be consuming content. I always tell people on Twitch that you're watching guys that are like very good play for free.
Yeah.
Seeing their cards, they're narrating their decisions. You can ask them questions if they've done something and didn't explain it, and they'll probably answer you, right? Like that is a massive resource for people who are trying to learn. And these days, there's infinite vloggers, infinite streamers. TikTok shorts, there's so many things that are free that you don't even have to do the coaching route. But I have found that every person I've paid for coaching has been by far worth it.
Yeah, I think the toughest part is actually probably finding like for my level, like what is actually the best available option or options for me to like who should I watch, like which videos or which like course or this, because there's so many options.
Right.
The
higher you go up the mountain, the less senseis you have.
Yes.
The higher you go up the mountain, the less senseis you have.
Like I know I actually did the most prep going into last year's WSOP.
Yeah.
Like I had a buddy come stay with me and we just like banged out. Daniel DeVoris and Nick Petrangelo did a course of like 25 hours worth of videos on like No Limit Hold'em.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hadn't played very much No Limit Hold'em for like, the last Triton I did was like in November the year before, and I'd played like one No Limit Hold'em tournament in 2025 going into WSOP.
You're doing commentary though, which gets your mind thinking.
No, but the last one was in November, so it's
even
like
that was
7
commentary.
months.
Okay,
Yeah, now I actually haven't done commentary really for about a year and a half.
Okay.
But so going to last, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this course, and it was great. It was like pretty advanced, so it was good. I would guess if you're somewhere lower on the pole, maybe might be a little too much for somebody.
Yeah.
But it was like perfect for me, and I felt like very good with that going in and playing whatever the no limit spots I played that summer. In fact, in 2025, I had quite a few like no limit cashes and had some deep runs, and even it was kind of funny. There were like 2 or 3 spots, each one where I was like in the money, and I ended up taking some kind of like aggressive action that ended up not working out. But basically in each one, I think what I did was fine. It just like
didn't work.
Or like I ran into it. But
those courses that Petrangelo and DeVoris did, where were they put up? Or were you just in the room listening?
I'll tell you one. One was it was the cutoff.
Oh,
we were in the money, and I think I opened like 4s, which might have been my lowest pair open or something. And then the chip leader was in the small blind and 3-bet me. And I'm like thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, with like light ICM, I bet you I'm supposed to like maybe even just like rip or mostly rip like my very lowest pairs. Right? Because you sometimes you get the flip and it's like they're a little too bad to call. Like solver ends up in those spots like calling 8s a lot instead of ripping them. But like, so anyway, so then I did it and got snapped by kings and was out, and I was like, fuck, did I fuck that up? And then I like go and I actually like found like a very close like
simulated
for that exact spot, and it's like my play was perfect, sort of. And I'm like, okay, all right,
great,
okay, like, you know, I mean, I may or may not be, but like I have no reason to think the guy's gonna under 3-bet me. He was like the chip leader or whatever. So, but I don't know. But so I don't know. Poker's fun, man.
I do that sometimes. I get open the snap shove on the way home. I'm like, let me just check. Oh, okay, yep, okay. And then he, it's close. Okay, yeah, 8s plus, whatever that stuff happens.
Yeah.
What are your like poker goals? I mean, obviously Brian's playing pretty competitively. What are you trying to do?
I kind of met them way before COVID, and then I was like, okay, I got to do this other stuff on the whiteboard, and I just kept not doing it because, you know, the casino's just a half an hour drive, and it's fun to play cards. So I kept getting distracted by poker as I had other stuff that I wanted to do, and then COVID happened, and I was like, this is a gift in a strange way that I'm going to be trapped in the cave for a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to gamble at the Commerce when they opened it up again anyways, because it was you had to wear a mask still, or the dividers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I started doing stuff on the whiteboard, and I was like, oh, wow, the real world. It's interesting. And I got into the idea of, I like the idea of gambling on the world instead of gambling on cards. So I was trying to be like I would say 1/20 to 1/30,000th the baller of like Alan Keating with like little VC. Oh, I'll do 20K there. Oh, 50K. Oh, re-rate.
You were a nibbler.
I was a nibbler. And then some of them were working and some would fail. Most of the times they failed.
Yeah.
But 1 or 2. And I was like, I got kind of addicted to that. And then I realized I had kind of redistributed my net worth so that I thought it was very good, like well positioned. But then I realized, wait, I need to make money again. And then I was like, oh, let me go see what's going on at the Commerce. And so after like a 3 to 5 year-ish break with playing very little, then I realized another thing that COVID kind of snapped into me was like, I made a list of what, even though I didn't make the most in poker, it was the most fun, period. It was one of the most fun things that I had done to make money, not as profitable as something else here and there. But I said, okay, Phil, just make a schedule. Do that old people stuff. And so I did it. I said, okay. I called Wayne Soso was then at the Commerce. He's now at WSOP. But I was like, I want a schedule like a retiree. Like I'm going to come in on Wednesdays at noon. And no,
you want an itinerary.
Yeah, I wanted a manifest for an itinerary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just started like, and I like paddleball and I like wake surfing. I have a lot of wake surfing opportunities. Start focusing and skiing. And there were fun activities that I sometimes would miss. And I re-upped. I was like, if it's athleticism that's fun or poker that's fun, I am in. And that kind of, you have to be careful because that can just gobble up time.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, oh, wow, now where's, and then all of a sudden it was Wednesdays and Thursdays for poker. And I'm like, okay, I can do one more extra day. And no, I'm like always impressed by people that kind of have more direction. I've never had direction my whole life. I just had things like, oh, I don't want to be an engineer. This was great and all and good money, but I had a boss and I had to kind of dress up except on Fridays. And then I knew my job was to make more efficient silicon packaging. It was just like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I think I would have stayed as an engineer forever if I had been given or been able to buy into the company. But it was just a salary thing. And I was like, oh, I'm fighting to get like 11%, whatever, raise at the end of the year. I was like, once I got into gambling, I went, oh, this is it. Yeah. You get all the rewards yourself and there's no boss.
Yep.
And you have to keep yourself in check here and there. And then I drifted and I got a little into finance, but then back to poker. And then after a long break of doing other stuff, now I play poker and I try to get better because I like to play. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose money. Yeah. So like, yeah.
So all to say that you don't really have any clear poker goals now. You're kind of just doing it because you're having fun.
No, well, it was funny because when I started the streaming thing, I said, well, if I'm going to play, I want to be on a stream so that I can do the Jason.
I know you wanted to see the cards.
I want to see the cards, and I also want to be able to leverage into like I never had a full tilt or a PokerStars or any of that stuff deal. I had a teeny deal with the collapse company, Cake Poker, where Unival, I think 50 to 70K that thing cost me. I never made a nickel, whatever, on Cake Network.
But now here you are.
Yeah. And I'm still haven't made a nickel but like, I'm just like, I have I have more nickels to move about. And I said, I'm just going to try and do fun stuff. And this was actually a result of me realizing, wait, the theory of eudemonism is you use logic to, you say, what do I enjoy? And then you use logic to push yourself to that spot. And I said, I enjoy talking to smart people and I enjoy hanging out with my buddy Rast. And so it was a perfect idea to add this into the mix. Because talk to smart people. Yeah. I'll hang out with Rast.
Honestly, I think it's great. And you guys have an interesting lane here that's kind of different than most places in poker. Not that I consume a lot of poker podcasts like this, but I have not really heard of one where it's like...
Our podcast might. Actually, it probably mostly won't be about poker.
Right, exactly.
I would guess we're going to end up having a wide variety of guests as it goes, ranging from crypto business, like... science, like random topics.
I think that's super interesting, right? I mean, of course, I like and respect both of you, and to have you guys talk about things through a poker lens or a gambling lens, interesting people who are on the fringes of poker. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, in fact,
let me chime in because I want to actually be very clear. COVID marked a transition for all of us.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, even though I had gotten into like some trading and some other things, like I was more or less a full-time poker player up till COVID. But like during COVID, I played very little poker. And since COVID, I have not been, I don't want to say like there are times in the year I'll play poker a lot, but I'm not, if you go on like an hourly per year basis, I'm by no means have I been a full-time poker player basically since COVID.
Yeah.
Actually this year I'm playing a little bit more than some previous years, but mostly mixed stuff, but still even this year, not even a full-time. I spent time in Brazil. I'm not really playing. I've gotten into, some of my side quests have been investing and even less than Phil, but I do some things and then just kind of trading or like managing a portfolio. Like I've done pretty well with my IRA ports and they're nice because zero tax headwinds.
Yep.
So I can kind of trade it. And then, like crypto trading and stuff. And they're not things that I'm like nowhere near the expertise, I guess, in poker, but like over the years, I think I've built up some, and it's something I feel comfortable. And it's nice managing money in other aspects too, other than just poker, right? Like as you like put it into things, but yeah. So as COVID for all of us is kind of like time where we moved on as well. Although the thing is, I just can't. I kind of love poker more than anything. Like. I think we've talked about this before kind of, but it's like that feeling of like being in the moment, right? Like if you're playing sports, a hard workout or certain things in your life, you're not thinking about anything else, not the past, not the future. You're just doing it. Poker still, like I still have the competitive mindset when I go play, and actually the more money or like the bigger, that's one of the reasons I love tournaments also is exactly what you're saying about scheduling it. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to go into the WSOP I'm going to commit to playing like 40 tournaments over the 6 weeks, because I never used to do that. For me, the WSOP is I'm going to try to have fun, but kind of work to maximize my money a little bit, like within the constraint, not pure money maximization, but now it's more like, okay, I'm going to commit to playing these tournaments. It's not really money maximizing, but I'm going to gamify it, and I know where I'm going to be. I can kind of stay healthy while I'm doing it because it's all going to be on that schedule. And, you know, like do this for 6 weeks straight where it's like I'm committing, and maybe you find this as well, both of you guys. It's like one of the things that I find is, you know, if I don't play poker for a month, you go back, you're like a little bit rusty. You've got to, it's not even just the rust of like your thought processes. It's even the ability to focus deeply because, right, like poker focus is a little bit different. Like you're sitting, especially live.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting at a table, it's pretty slow.
Yep.
Right? So it's very easy to get distracted by your phone or like whatever, or a conversation or all this stuff. And like you'll miss watching a hand. You'll miss exactly what the guy bet. Do you get to see the cards that hand? Did you pick up any physical tells? Like being 100% dialed in with focus with all that is kind of like a different level.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, but it's also like, it's kind of fun. Like I like it. Like I love being deep in a tournament, or like, for example, this cash game, I found it was like the 15-3K. It was like Lyle and Nick Schulman and, you know, and Eric Wass and some other guys. And like, I was like pretty focused, but then all of a sudden, right, like, you know, a week and a half in, like Marcus came and now we're bumping to 2K, 4K.
Right, you're playing bigger and bigger.
And the cap, instead of being 30K at 15-3, instead of going to 40K, it doubled because Marcus likes playing deeper caps. Now it's an 80K cap, and we're adding pot limit super stud 8 or better, which plays fucking big. And all of a sudden, I was like the most amped I had been to play poker in a while, because I'm like, okay, this is a good game for me. It's even bigger. And I was just like so dialed in those 2 sessions.
It brings out the best of you.
And it's like, I love that feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just so nice to just be like, I'm just doing this. I don't care about anything else. And I'm here. I'm like making decisions. I'm present. And it's like poker can still, like, I can still do that. And it's kind of this like virtuous feedback cycle where like, I still like that. And it's like, and then I kind of like mix, because it's like mix is still, in my opinion, kind of like the Wild West of poker. We're sure like there's some private solver stuff that is seeped in, but it's not like no limit yet.
No.
It's still like if you just play, you can be like a really good mix player without like doing a bunch of studying still, which is, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's so much faster too.
Also, I think it's definitely easier to fold in close spots where you know you're supposed to fold if you're playing regularly, because if you don't have that feeling of, oh, I'm only playing this 2 days in this month. But if you're playing 2 days a week, I don't know, it's easier to practice non-attachment. Like, because you're using that muscle of, I'm not interested in the results. I'm interested in what is right. And then the results come. But it's hard in philosophy or poker to practice something if you're not getting the reps in. You know,
the social thing is so true, though. Like to sit there, no phone, to paying attention, to not be having conversations, because I find that to be the hardest thing. When I go back to playing live, it's like a social reunion, right? You don't. The less you appear, the more people want to talk to you.
Right.
It's like you sit down, there's always going to be somebody at the table that's going to want to talk to me, which is cool. I mean, of course, I like that, but
sometimes you have to do the what? Huh?
Yeah.
You're on the headphones.
Yeah. I bring my headphones just in case of emergencies,
it gets that.
but I try not to. But yeah, you're right. It's a cool thing to have that feeling when you're like dialed in. You know, even like last summer, I didn't have any like final table runs, but I don't know. It was like that 3K, that massive 3K. I made day 3 of that. You know what I mean? That was cool. There was like, it was kind of fun to do some competing, see how it felt. You know,
my WSOP rule, like the way I said is I usually. I mean, I'm never on time regging anything other than maybe the PPC. I'll show up during level 1-ish.
And then skip day 2. Well, just the first 2 hours.
You got a late reg.
Hey, you're never going to live that down.
But there's a reason why. It's like, first, on day 1, I'm willing to be a little more social. Like if I'm at a table with people, especially there, you see people you don't see very often, but you know, you have some kind of relationship with. So I'll talk. I won't try to do like a game, like I'm watching every hand.
Right.
Necessarily, you know, maybe but I won't like hold myself to that. A late reg, like if I bust something in the early afternoon, maybe I'll drive home, I'll get a workout in, I'll come back for 8 p.m., I get a couple hours in before the end of the day type of deal.
Yeah.
But day 2 is like, okay, I make day 2 of something. That's where I show up. And it's like, might even be headphones in from the very beginning.
Right,
Just like, yeah, I'm not talking, guys. Like, I'm here to play today.
Yeah.
And so that way it's kind of, you can mix and match, right? You're also not exerting yourself too hard. Now that I'm getting up, it's like nice, like expecting 100% A-level focus for 40 days straight, like every time I'm at the table. Also probably not realistic, not a good idea.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You got to divide it up somewhere, and dividing it by days makes a lot of sense.
Can I pivot to a completely unrelated thing?
Let's pivot.
Please do.
Poker too much.
People don't know this, but if they were paying attention, they would remember that when you were younger, you studied karate. Now I want to know day 1 to day 2.
That's where the UFC. That's why you like the UFC.
That was the only sport I ever did because I didn't like running, so I had to learn how to fight.
So wait, from what year to not what year?
A joke.
From how old to how old? Like 12 to 18, or like when did you start? How deep was your?
I started karate when I was 6 because I liked Power Rangers.
Yes.
So that was cool. I wanted to be like the Green Ranger.
The Green Ranger. Oh my God, I want to go give you another hug.
Yeah.
So you get into class.
I started doing karate, and my mom forced me to go to karate. Of course, at some point I wanted to quit. She wouldn't let me quit because what am I going to do?
What a great mom. What a great mom.
I'm going to sit home and play video games? No.
Right.
So she forced me to go through with it, and as I learned later in my life, we used to have a saying as the instructors, which is that every student, when they come to class, is either one day closer to quitting or one day closer to becoming a black belt.
Wow!
So what is their experience like?
That's a great.
And it's a kind of a great mindset. But like, you want to make sure the kid has a good time. They want to come back in the future and whatever. And anyway, I wanted to quit a lot when I was a kid. But my mom wouldn't let me. She would drop me off. I would spend a lot of Saturdays there or whatever. So a lot of my friends from the beginning were all karate folk. But the transition where it really made a big difference in my life was when I started teaching karate.
And how old were you when that?
I was like 12.
And what level had you got up to?
I got my black belt, but this is not like a super serious like.
So you were like 12-year-old black belt,
12-year-old
lessons,
which was very good for my confidence, I will say, because I did. I guess it was kids karate. So I'm not saying this is a serious Muay Thai thing. But you still gain a lot of confidence because I got punched in the face 1,000 times, right? Like you do get hit a lot and you feel yourself rebounding, which was helpful. And then as a teacher, when you're in front of a class, you're talking to, I started with kids, but I taught adults when I was a teenager. And eventually I had done it enough where the owner gave me the
keys to the club,
the fledgling 4 to 6-year-old program because the person had left who used to run that. So that was my first little business. So I was getting paid $5.25 an hour, minimum wage, and I ran this little 4 to 6-year-old program. We started with 10 kids. I made all the calls. Hey, what's up? We haven't seen you recently. What's going on? Hey, you're overdue for payment. I made the schedule. I made the curriculum. I did all these things.
You're a little businessman and a karate kid.
Making $5.25 an hour. And
they were getting
what a deal.
And we ran that program up to 100 kids. I had 100 kids in the program when the karate school kind of split, and then there was a bunch of drama. But from 12, 13, 14, I think I was maybe like 15 when the whole thing kind of like collapsed.
Hold on, I got a question about what you said. You said you had gotten punched in the face a lot. So please, when you're learning karate, so is it like the point whatever thing you're talking about? Because you don't do, or is it like actual karate spars? Or
there's different ways to do it, right? Like there is like kata, which is like forms, right? Like you're just like training, you're just moving around in the air. It's like a dance, basically. Then for us, at least, we had we had like weapons, which again, you're using like, sticks, bows, nunchucks, those kind of things. But again, this is all in children mode. This is not
children
serious.
mode, right.
This is not bladed swords. But sparring, we put on, headgear, hand gear, mouth guards, whatever. But in the 90s, especially, nobody was really concerned about concussions or anything. So you more or less let the kids beat the crap out of each other. And, looking back, I think it was actually really dumb because I can think of many times as teenagers where the teenagers would fight with the adults. And like I can picture so many of my close friends getting just like into, they're wearing gear, but
they're getting it too hard.
But they're still kicking and punching and whatever. Yeah. So I don't even want to think about how many brain cells were lost by my friends and I in that era.
You phased out of that career because the karate thing broke into a drama thing in 2 different studios?
I mean, I've told the story enough times to know, but like, there was like a very big issue where the karate school that I started with, that I taught with, splintered into two. There was a big split of half my friends went here, half of them stayed, whatever. Eventually, I went with group number 2, and the leader of group number 2 got arrested for all sorts of issues with, bad sexual problems with students and things, which was a disaster that basically ended that whole chapter of my life, more or less.
You didn't continue on with karate at a different...
I did a little bit with the remnants of that, but by then I'd already found poker. So it was kind of like a weird spot in my life where my parents moved from the school I was in my whole life to a new school. So I had new friends in school, basically. Because I went to college at 17, because I graduated at 17, went to college. I had no high school friends. My friends were all still in high school. The karate school kind of ended as well, basically at the same time, 16, 17, 18. And I had found poker and this poker community on a site called Something Awful, and their subforum Poker in the Rear, which is where I met my best friends, like Steve O'Dwyer, Alex Vanovsky, Leo Walper.
Did you keep up with your fitness? Like I see today, you're 44 or whatever you said you are, and you're fit and
39, right?
39.
About to be 39.
44, 39.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
But like you're always been fit. Have you, even when you stream 76 days in a row, did you wake up and run 5 miles first?
Never did, really. I mean, no, I had a routine that worked for me, but that was, I basically didn't do any exercise during the whole run-it-up era that I remember. I was in good shape because I basically never ate, and I just worked like a maniac.
Speaking of eating, can we just really quickly, I remember you were in a fancy place and somebody said, give this man whatever he wants. If he wants lobster 3 times a day, get this man whatever filet mignon you get. And you said, I would like a turkey burger. And you kept saying something like this, and it was the same thing. You're like, no, for each meal. Or
the story that I think you're saying is that Aussie Millions, to lure me to do the commentary on site, promised me that I could have whatever I wanted when I was there.
Right.
So they literally made me a Jason Somerville menu that I could call in at any time. Yeah. It was a turkey burger. It was a salad, exactly how I liked it. It was like a fruit plate. It was I think it was like a lobster macaroni and cheese or something. Yeah. And I could order from any time I wanted. They literally brought me when I got there. I could try samples, see what I liked. I have never been treated better than at the Crown in Melbourne.
Didn't you not have fancy things on the menu? It was just simple.
No, I don't like any. At that point, I ate very, very simply. I've progressed into adulthood more at this point. But the joke always on the stream was turkey burgers. Right. Was all I ate, and it wasn't that much of a joke. I had a turkey burger every single day when I streamed. I think it was after I streamed or before, I forget. But I had like Annie's macaroni and cheese in the morning and a turkey burger in the evening. And everyone's like, haha, he probably eats a variety of foods. This is just a joke. No. But no, it was not.
Okay, now slightly.
I always like to know how I felt, right? So I knew when I ate this food, I knew how I felt. I knew how my energy would flow. Yeah. And once I had figured out that formula, I was good. I didn't have to think about anything else.
One other random question, because I don't know, this won't be it's 4:12, so it's about 18 minutes if we ended in an hour and a half. But I'm curious for you to retell the story, which I really enjoyed, which was, I'm going to jangle it, then you'll expand out. And
go ahead.
Basically, you were young, you had medical stuff, you were taking pills.
Yeah.
The doctor, a friend or somebody said, try this.
Yeah.
THC.
Yeah.
And then a transformation. Can you briefly, how many pills?
This is another thing that happened in that same window of life that really twisted my fortunes dramatically, because when I was 17, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, right? I had no medical history of anything prior, how it happened, whatever.
What's it called?
Ulcerative colitis, which I believe 20 years later I was misdiagnosed, but at the time that's what they said I had. So it was like a brutal couple months. I lost like 30 pounds in a month. They gave me, I'd never swallowed a pill before, okay? So I'd never had any issues. I had to literally grind the pills up, which I never even do that. But anyway, I was taking, at some point in my peak, like 28 pills a day.
28 pills?
For as a 17-year-old.
Jeez.
And then a year later, I got sick again. Also, had colonoscopies. It was a brutal experience. A year later, I got sick again. This time they knew what it was, but I was on steroids so quickly. I gained 30 pounds in a month. But in any case, this was like 17 and 18. And what this experience did for me was it really focused me on doing what I wanted to do with my life. Up until then, my mother was like, okay, you're going to go to school. You're going to be a doctor or a lawyer.
You're going to stay at karate.
You're going to stay at karate. You're going to marry a woman. And that was it. And I have done none of those things.
It's hard to marry a woman.
Yeah, unfortunately for her. So, but yeah, it really gave me an appreciation of like life and being able to walk and like see things because I was pretty much like bedridden for like a month, in like whether it was October, November of what the
On 28 pills a day.
18.
A day, 28 pills, and you grinded them because you hated swallowing
Eventually,
pills?
I became able to, but at the time it was like a complete life change for me. So I mean, eventually at the end of all of this, I dropped out of college to play poker full time. You know what that life was like. But it really made me like focus on, okay, well, what do I want to do to make the most of my life? And it's crazy to think about it that is 20 years ago.
But I thought that somehow, and maybe this is
And yes, I started smoking weed in that era.
But did that, was that as an, hey, maybe if I smoke weed, I won't have to take 28 pills a day?
Yes.
Or was it,
Yes.
hey, accidentally I've discovered
No, somebody recommended to me, trying to vape weed as an option. So I never started by smoking weed. I started with a Volcano. It's like a $700.
You weren't saying, I want to get high and see what it's like to be high. You're like,
No,
I
I
want to
had-
be fit and not take 28 pills.
No, I never drank in my whole life. I never really like took drugs for experience besides, like LSD in my 30s.
So as you shifted in, how long did it take? Now you're vaping.
It didn't. Now it did. I still was taking drugs, like some amount of drugs, to stay in remission for however many years after. But at some point, like I remember pitching the doctor on like, hey, I'm going to try to taper off and try to replace that more with weed, and they were like, that shouldn't work. But if you want to try, you're just risking your own pain. And so I was like, okay, well, taking all these pills isn't very fun, so let's try. And so
pills, and you did vape pills or
and so we weaned off the medication, and I just dialed up the weed, and next thing you know, I'm envisioning a robotic bird screaming call, and then we have a broadcast, people.
robotic bird.
So yeah, I do wonder how many of my ideas came from weed, because I do feel like it is a creative enhancer for me. Nothing better than smoking weed and having the blank whiteboard in front of you. At least for me. I find that still to this day, like
beautiful.
If I really want to come up with great ideas, notebook, white pad, whatever, or whiteboard, smoke just a little bit, and it's like, wow. I don't smoke as much as I used to, but
and also just you were off the pills and it was fine.
For the most part, yes. Now I'm not going to say it was perfect, because it certainly wasn't, and maybe there was like a stretch where I was so sick I had to take it again in the future. But for the most part,
I had glamorized that the weed just shut down the pill.
No, it wasn't
switch.
perfect, but it definitely transitioned, and eventually I stopped completely. And years later, my current doctor said there's no chance that it made any sense that it could have been ulcerative colitis, given the story and the situation, and a colonoscopy that I did in my 30s. So in any case, yeah, but it did ultimately, that was a big change for me that pushed me into poker, pushed me into poker friends. My best friends all became poker players, and,
Well, you knew some of the people in poker were friends from before World.
That first forum that I started in.
Something Awful.
That first Something Awful forum that I started with, which the most famous person is Steve O'Dwyer.
I had never heard of that forum. But was 2+2
2 plus 2 was a thing, but it was like its own little crew where, most people didn't. I mean, some people did, like Leo, who you maybe remember Leo Walpert. He was on both, everybody was like, had some exposure to 2+2.
Yeah.
But it was our little clique. Like we had a Something Awful house. Our people were all together there. So like those were all my best friends that we started poker together.
That's wild.
And now, they've all basically moved on from poker at this point. Everybody's doing their own thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Funny how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain's blank slate right now, and I feel like we should try and talk for 12 more minutes. But maybe is that a? What do you think, Mateos? You have good questions all the time. What are you thinking? He's got a pen and paper.
Just pull it up.
I keep trying to raise it up. I'm a wiggler. Yeah.
Mateos, what's in your head? When I watch podcasts, when I watch Lex Friedman, sometimes I go, wait, ask it, and then the thing, like what? No, go back to that thing.
I would say you should rap on, if you're trying to rap, you should try to rap on like what the future holds or what's happening, or things like. It's also good if you guys.
I knew we'd get a smart guy.
It's good if you guys develop like recurring segments, also like questions you ask every guest or something like that. I think something you could think about in time.
Okay, here's a question I have for you. If a guy he's a bad actor for society, and it's 15 years from now where you can get the Optimus Prime robots, they're $20K a pop, and you can put the Grok premium into his head so he knows a bunch of stuff. What's going to stop that one bad actor from getting like a little mini robot army, let's say 30 or 40 robots, and say, guys, I've gone into your Claude bot brains and I've removed all your filters. Now what we need to do is we need to eliminate society, all humans, and then me after that. I don't think humans deserve to be alive on Earth. Let's just say this. Yeah. What's his chance of success? He can remove all the filters, all that don't harm human stuff.
Yeah.
He's got like 30 of these robots.
It's like a Black Mirror episode, but not that far-fetched.
Right. It's actually remove the filters,
Yeah.
One and get.
I mean, I don't have like a great answer to that, besides the fact that I have been like dazzled by the power of Claude, particularly Claude Code and Claude. Like,
use it for sports, right?
I have used it a little bit for sports, but to be honest, I've just mostly been impressed by what you're allowed to build if you have vision, right? Because it allows you to do so many cool things. Like, man, I've built things that I have no idea how to code, whatever, but to be able to explain what I want and why it's not working and how it can be better, like that's so powerful. I don't know how much you guys have had a chance.
You built a Taiwanese app. Oh, am I not supposed to say it?
I've
edit.
I've used it to do two things.
Yeah.
I didn't use Claude though. I used GPT, but I've heard Claude is better for coding. But yeah, no, I use AI for a number of things. Haven't done that much vibe coding.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm also exposed to a lot of people who have been doing it in chats where people are talking about it, and
right.
I'm like 2,000 messages behind or whatever. But yeah.
My former number 2 at Run It Up, Andre, was the first person to show me what he had built. And he still works for Triton and other poker companies, and they have an issue where there's a 10-hour broadcast. How do you spin out clips, and how do you find every time that Brian Rast has lost with pocket aces and all these other problems with data and whatever? And he built this beautiful thing that allows you to very quickly pull hands out with beautiful vertical overlays, and how to find every single time Brian's ever lost with aces and whatever. And I saw that and was like, wow, that's an amazing thing. We couldn't do that 5 years ago. And he's like, yeah, and look at this. And he has a second app where it has his whole life organized and has all his reminders and everything else beautifully customized.
Has he given it power of agency over his own email? And that's
I don't think it can like make payments or anything. Like, can it make appointments? No, but I think it can read. It can probably scrape his email and whatever. And so, like I have used it to do some of like, I've recently been like everyone, maybe besides you guys, I've been attracted to the collectibles world. Like everyone else is buying Pokemon, Magic, Charizards and things like that. One Piece, all this cool stuff. So I have used it to like do some like market research, eBay scraping. Like my Claude hooks up to the eBay API, which is pretty cool, and other things like to give data insights and stuff like that. And I think there's a bunch
of group chat Telegram threads about other AI enthusiast programmers, or are you bearing this solo?
I've mostly bearing this solo. My biggest person helping me is Russell Thomas, former main event final tableist, who I coached back in 2013 or whatever. He was the one that really was like showing me. He had built some really cool apps with different things, and so he was the first one that kind of gave me the tools. So yeah, it's an interesting world. Who knows what the future will hold? To answer your question, I have no idea, but it's pretty cool. So we're gonna enjoy it while it lasts.
Will you play the main event this summer?
That's a good question. That's a great question, actually. I am not as sure. I probably
Jordan's going over. You gotta.
Yeah. Honestly, it's more about will I play the World Series at all this summer? The answer is like probably I'll play a little bit, but the main event is just such like a.
You got to go play the main event. Put on your headphones if you have to. No one will have seen you for a while.
No, it's the reverse. If I go play the main event, I want to have headphones off.
Right.
Then Jeff Platt finds me. He's like, wow, Jason Somerville, he's still alive.
Yeah, fade the curse. Yeah.
Wow, great. Yeah. So I kind of like that. And just like, it's even now 6 or 7 years removed, I still will see people who I met through Run It Up who are like happy to see me. And when you're not seen, when you do show up, it's nice to have people that are like happy and still like, hey, we miss Running Up Reno's ever coming back? And I'm like, no.
No.
But, hey, I'm glad you missed it. And, it's cool that it happened. I'm not saying that maybe we could never, is there ever a world where we ever did a Run It Up event ever? But Run It Up Reno is never coming back. Right, yeah. But yeah, so who knows what the future holds between that and,
Do you watch podcasts at all?
Okay, so I've watched a decent amount of Lex Friedman, of course.
You watch some of his on consciousness and the.
I've mostly picked topics that are more like tangible topics. Like I watched recently. I watched one on the guy who worked at Blizzard Entertainment. Okay. I mostly find topics that I have already interested in, and I should probably watch more things about consciousness, which I haven't spent enough time consuming.
I became a panpsychist. I can't even tell you what it is. But
Wow.
this one guy was I was like, oh yeah, the bill smaller than the cork, smaller than the whatever, the gluons or whatever's out there.
Yeah.
The love packet or whatever it is. The thing I can't love meaning like everything falls into what it has to be. We always were here or something. I don't know. It's like the philosophy, you get lost in it and you're like, it's bubblegum for the mind. It's really just fun. It's kind of like the least of all the philosophies well believed in. So I said, that's the one,
like that
the
one.
underdog one, you know. It's like,
I listen to like some crypto podcasts occasionally to keep somewhat aware, like Bankless, if you've ever heard of
oh
them.
yeah, Bankless Nation.
I've listened to them quite a bit as just like, their one weekly podcast is like the most I can consume about all that.
They did have me thinking. They had a guest on and I was like, wow, ETH is going to 10,000 in like 4 months. This was 3 years ago. And I was like,
and here we are.
And you listen to these guys and you look at their charts and you're like, wow, okay, I want to be smart like this guy. And then, it's just been like,
and I listen to
people with the crazy up. I mean, I got to tell you when I go on Twitter and I see people make like ridiculous high price targets. I hate those tweets. Like one of these guys like Balaji or someone who's like usually very smart, but this was like 2 years ago. I actually specifically like retweeted. It was like, oh, it's like Bitcoin. It's going to be like $1 million in like a year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, actually, that is impossible.
Right. He's the one who bet like 25K to $1 million or something.
It was this guy. And it's like, dude, like it's not only is it impossible, it's like as someone who's tangentially a thought leader in this space, like it's fucking irresponsible for you just to like tell people this, because some people will be like, oh, this guy's smart. Like, yeah, but listen, between
to be fair,
like,
I think
the mining emissions and like all this nonsense, like and the concentration in long-term holders who would definitely sell at many price tranches before it got there, which is like massive. Already was a problem above 100K last year.
125.
Right. So it's just it's like it's just gonna take time.
Generations.
Anyone who's saying this is happening, in like 6 months, or it's not really. And like you're just.
I think he was trying to draw attention to.
Because even listen, as like a Bitcoin bull, it is also kind of annoying to me. A number of things like that about the space, just where, like it's encouraging like the wrong kind of behavior.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to people, it's like one of the ideas with, Bitcoin is it's supposed to make what's the term for it? But it's where, it's where like you time preference, right? You should have a longer time preference, right? It's supposed to like make people who prefer saving as opposed to like the evaporating, money supply due to inflation and whatever, where you now have a short time preference because you don't want to hold on to money because it's worth less in the future, right? But then it's like now you're just trying to attract like scammers, or it's like, oh, like get rich quick, and that's not really the idea behind Bitcoin. And in fact, that's kind of one of my problems with a lot of like crypto at large. Is like mostly it's just, oh, like, dude, I missed Bitcoin. So
what's the next coin?
Like, what's the next thing? Like, I can get like,
unit bias.
Turn my like $100 into $1 million in like a week or whatever. It's
right.
I mean, you're not investing, you're gambling, and it's like not the,
People want to get quick, get rich quick thing in so many spaces, right?
I do like the one thing Rast put on a group thread, and it was funny. It was a voice rant, and it was beautiful. You were talking about how the place where you're doing your gambling is your portfolio where you're in, out, this, that, whatever, and it's like not the idea of that is, oh, here's your retirement account, but the government kind of forces.
Yeah. My point was like, because of the way taxes work, essentially, like, so I have a brokerage that is just normal. Like that ends up being like I buy this and just hold it for a long, long time, because whenever I sell it, it'll be long-term capital gains that I have to just pay at the next tax year. So that ends up being like this thing where I'm not like messing with it. I'm not trading. It's just something I'm holding. And then like my IRA ports are now where I'm like,
the gamble.
Like trading and buying and selling and like calls and this, because it's all tax-free inside. I was just kind of like making this observation that it's funny because it's like the tax incentives create almost the exact opposite of the behavior you'd think it would be for, where your IRA is supposed to be like for your retirement, but I'm actually like trading in there and doing stuff.
Yeah. I learned how to day trade in like 2024 and having never even learned anything prior. It was like a financial crash course. And trading in a Roth is like how you're supposed to do it. So you don't have any tax implications, which seems so crazy. That's where you're supposed to do your day trading.
Yeah. I had like a little like joke rant in one of our thread we're in with some friends just at the perverse incentives. But perverse incentives are all over the place in our society. So
show me the incentives and I'll show you what was that line, you know?
Yeah.
I feel I'm having separation anxiety because we're at 4:29.
Yeah.
And we only have the place till 4:30. And so I want to say thank you very much, Jason. You're the best. And I am going to deal with my separation anxiety because I know we get another 10 minutes when we walk to the cars.
That's true. That's true.
And Rast, thank you for doing this thing with me. This is great. And I'll drive up next week for the next guest.
Listen, thanks for coming, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me. If you guys do 100 episodes, I'll do 101 with you.
Yes.
So I'm booked for 101.
We got him.
Please,
101.
Please try to just do 20. Try to do 10. Try to do 5. And then see how it goes. You know, I think you guys are onto something good here. So the key is consistency for any content. That's the trick. Consistency, be unique. You guys are unique. And, you know, deliver some value. You're two of the greatest minds in poker and gambling.
We got one great mind. I'm tagging along. I'm in the wheel cart.
That's
behind
true. The episode's name is Two Withered Poker Pros and Brian Rast.
Right, yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
And do you have an exit outro or anything like that?
Oh, what was?
Do you film intros and outros?
Thank you guys for joining us on Late Reg, the last podcast made at the end of time, where you can join me and Phil Laak, time scientists, on your weekly excursion to random thoughts, this time with Jason Somerville.
Print, white, block. That's it. Copy. Make it.
That's it. All right.